Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Hello. What is up? I'm Jared Welch. Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, November 13th, and this is another edition of Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on? Good evening to everybody out there. It should be a good show today. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Kentucky Derby 2026 right around the corner, right? Isn't that like next week they're going to run that race? I hope.
Honestly, if they do, they're gonna have a hard time filling the 20 gates. Because I can't come up with 20 horses right now. I don't know if there's 20 horses that could run in that race right now. It just feels, I don't know. Doesn't it feel like, and maybe just because it's like it's happening now, but it's just this year feels like I know far less than I do normally about the 2-year-olds. Like it just feels like we don't have a very clear picture.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are getting started a little bit later than they did last year. And I think you're right. There's just kind of a lot of unknown. Basically, what happened is we had a lot of horses debut over the summer that looked really, really good. And a lot of them were trained by Baffert, and we kind of know how that goes. They fizzle, and then at least lately, and then there were some other ones like Tom Amos had a couple and they didn't really develop in anything. Like Mark Cassie had Ewing and he kind of disappeared on us. So like some of those horses that debuted, they didn't really come back and run that well after those debuts. So it's made for a little bit of a weird situation. Now the one horse that did was Ted Noffey. He kept going, right, and looked good. And after that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. So I think it's important to keep an eye on these maiden races the next couple months, because I do think that's where you're going to start seeing some real contenders come out of those races.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're starting to see it more and more, like we've talked about, horses. Like we say, like, oh, the curse of Apollo, like that's never, that's a thing. And then Justified did it, and then it's like Mage did it, and then it's like more and more and more. You're seeing not just horses winning necessarily, but horses that are entered that haven't ran as 2-year-olds. And it's just like you say, they're getting started later and later. And, the breaks and the injuries and, subtle breaks of that kind of like that seem like they're happening more and more. And, it's just even the really good ones, Ted Noffey is only going to have 2 races before he gets to the Derby as a 3-year-old. And so it's just, we're seeing a lot, the horses are being ran far less. So I think, I don't think I don't want it to come across like this year's 2-year-old/3-year-old crop is terrible. I just don't think we know enough yet, and it's kind of frustrating. It's gonna make I don't know. It's gonna make a challenge to come up with. You did the top 5 video earlier this week on Racing Dudes. We'll do a little. We'll obviously go over that today and go over some top 5. But this makes it. How are you supposed to come up with top 20? I mean, whenever you start ranking the top 20. That's gonna be challenging.
Yeah, no, for sure it is, and I think I think the right word is just a lot of unknown past the top horse. I'm with you. I don't. It is way too early to make any indication one way or another on it, especially with how racing has just really changed. And you can have 3 or 4 horses pop up in the next 2 months, make debuts, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, we got some loaded, fields. So yeah, look, I think we'll talk about a few prospects. We'll talk about a couple that have been brought up in the comment section of that video as well, and kind of go over those. So yeah, look, I think there's still a lot of unfolding to do. I think the good news is when it's a situation like this, we kind of know the benchmark, number one, and the benchmark is Ted Noffey. But we also know that that isn't like, he's not an impossible horse to go get at this point, right? He's good, and you might even say he's really good, but I don't see like unbeatable from him yet, right? So, and then, that makes these next couple of months, which can be kind of slow, it kind of puts that added emphasis on, okay, we really need to pay attention here because some horses are going to debut and they're going to be players in that first round of Kentucky Derby prep races.
Do you think that they're, actually, no, I'll say that question for later because I do think, I just kind of wonder if like is it a matter of, I think it's more of a matter of we don't know the horses yet that are going to be that could challenge him. I don't necessarily believe from what we've seen so far, it's like, hey, some of those horses could get to Ted Nafi, but a lot of times things change. 2-year-olds don't evolve to 3-year-olds. The 2-year-olds that were bad at, they get better as they get older. So lots could change. We'll talk all about the Kentucky Derby coming up here as we go over the top 5. I wanted to mention too, my boy, talking about Kentucky Derby, Disco Time. Boy, did he make an appearance last weekend. What do you think of Disco Time? And now Pegasus is in the cards for him. This could be a kind of a fun 4-year-old that really was an unknown or a kind of an unrealized 3-year-old because of the injury. What could have been, it feels like, with him. Disco Time got a huge number for that race as well.
Yeah, if you're listening, you're like, man, I remember that horse, but I where did I remember him from? Well, what happened was he looked very good winning the Lecomte back to start the year, and he went extremely wide in that race and was still able to win. And yeah, it looked like this horse had a future. It could move up the Kentucky Derby trail. And then an injury right after that race, and we didn't see him again, believe it or not, until the St. Louis Derby. And you might be listening and going, what the hell is that? It is a race that they run at Fairmont Park. And he popped a 101 buyer that day when he won the St. Louis Derby. But I think a lot of people, and myself included, thought, okay, nice, but is that really a real thing? You know what I mean? And he looked great in that race. But again, it's like, is this really for real? And then he backs it up in the Dwyer up at Aqueduct, and he looked even better. So yeah, I am very curious to see if he can build off this. Can he be kind of that horse that can jump up and compete with, Journalism and Baeza? And then I don't know if Sovereignty's coming back or not, but him as well. So it'd be very interesting. I've heard Saudi Cup for him, and that would be, obviously, that'd be a big goal, but that's what I've heard from him. So Disco Time was just super impressive, and he backed up what he did at Fairmont. And again, it was at Fairmont, and it was very skeptical, but he backed it up at Aqueduct. And look, it was a 4-horse field, but I going into that race, I thought this will be a very good race, and he made it to where it was not a very good race for everybody else but him.
Yeah, and you get Tappan Street coming back at some point, and and those horses are maybe it's maybe a lot of the we had a really good 3-year-old class, but what could have been for a few of these other ones. Obviously, Tappan Street, the horse that beat Sovereignty, back what feels like forever ago at this point, but at Gulfstream Park, and yeah, I mean that would be a good. The Pegasus could be with what obviously some of the horses we do know that have been running, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously when Disco Time did the Lecomte, he didn't beat on the fantasy team. For me, I was just like, oh yeah, that's a legit horse. That was really good. And being trained by Brad Cox and just all the things, you're like, all right, this is going to be a real time Derby horse. And so the injury sucked, but man, yeah, he's looked good coming back. They can keep him healthy. And like you said, the mix of Baeza and Journalism and I don't know, Sovereignty. We'll see, but that we could be in store for a really good 4-year-old season from these 3 turning 4-year-old horses, because it's going to be a hell of a year with some of these horses. Because you got to assume, dude, Baeza is going to eventually continue to get better and better and figure it out as he evolve. He's obviously got talent. Journalism, obviously classy as hell. Sovereignty should be a hell of a 4-year-old if they bring him back. So it really could be a really good 4-year-old year for a lot of these horses.
Yeah, it could be for sure. There's a lot to be excited for. There's no doubt about it. And so, yeah, it makes for a fun setup. We had a great 3-year-old crop that turned 4 last year, and it seems like we're going to have that again. And then, like I said, then it'll be okay. Will the 3-year-olds fill in again? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how it unfolds, because again, Disco Time was a horse, that we really felt strongly about, and then we didn't get to see, and now we're seeing that he's pretty good. He does give you a little bit of like magnitude vibes, a bit, how he's running these big numbers against maybe fields that aren't the best. He's going to have to, step up eventually, and then I think that's when we're really going to see, who he is. So yeah, and speaking of magnitude, He's coming off a nice second in the Pennsylvania Derby. He's going to take on older horses in the Clark in a couple weeks on Black Friday. So that's kind of exciting to see as well. So he's another one that, like, in a lot of years, that would probably be one of the top 3 or 4 horses in a 3-year-old crop. It's just this year, not because of how good it is.
Yeah, it's Hey, and by the way, if you win the Pegasus, you get to go to the Breeders' Cup Classic. So
that's right.
10 months later.
Well, it's good for the Pegasus. I get what they're trying to do. I'm glad that they're trying to add a little bit of value, but yeah, that is a far-fetched proposition these days in horse racing. that horse will last 10 months, but I don't know. I guess there's worse things that could happen.
Yeah, I thought it was like, that's a good idea in theory.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you win this race, it's a big race, but it's like, I mean, the way it's structured, it's always been, at least my mindset has always been, it's kind of like the tail end of the careers for a lot of these horses. It's like, hey, let's not retire them immediately after the Breeders' Cup. Now we'll run them in the Pegasus. Now we'll run them, in Saudi and Dubai. Then we'll be done or whatever. And so it's like, it's hard to kind of get a horse to win, and then obviously that horse still be sent, be running or want to run or whatever towards a classic. I don't know. It's just like, hey, if you win the Breeders' Cup Classic, you get to be in next year's Breeders' Cup Classic too, or whatever. It's like, I texted you, I said it would make more sense to, if you won the Breeders' Cup Classic, you get a free entry to the Pegasus, but it's still it's weird, right? I understand it, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Well, I mean, it feels like the Pegasus winner should be in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but we just, we know that that may not be the case. So we'll see how that shakes out. I'm a huge fan of the Pegasus, and I think you and I are alone in this. It feels like, at least with other talking heads in the industry, I've always been a huge supporter of it. I want it to be a huge race, and I don't know that this helps, but it doesn't hurt it. So, whatever.
I don't think a lot of people really remember or realize that this race at one point was worth, like, what was it? The top, was it 16?
Yeah.
12?
Yeah. It was 12 at first, and then I think it went to 16, and then it started to, and the Saudi Cup ruined it. So
yeah, 16 million we're talking about purse, 12 million. I mean, it was huge. It was massive. It was like, and then we were the only people that felt like that actually thought it was a good idea. Like that was a fun idea, but
yeah,
and they tried a bunch of different things, and as far as like how you got in it and stuff, and you had to buy you had to pay $1 million to get in it or whatever it was, and just a whole deal. But at the end of the day, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Had to buy an entry for $1 million for the first year. Yeah, exactly. It was something different. And was the first year when it was Arrogant and Chrome, or was?
Yeah.
And then of course it kind of backfired and Chrome didn't fire, but still saw a hell of a race. But yeah, they tried, and yeah, I don't think it got the support that it needed. And then like Saudi and Dubai, people were skipping, like, well, we're gonna run in Saudi because they're never gonna run out of money.
Well, here's the deal. So Johnny says, wasn't it trying to compete with Saudi and Dubai? Saudi was not a thing when it started. So what it was meant to do was complement the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Dubai World Cup. It would fall right in the middle of it, and horses could run in the Breeders' Cup Classic, in the Pegasus, and then in the Dubai World Cup. Like Arrogate, who won the first Pegasus, went over to Dubai and won the Breeders' Cup Classic. That was the setup. And then Saudi came in with $20 million and ruined the Pegasus. That's basically what happened. So, yeah, and
wasn't it like kind of the theory behind it? Like, hey, let's, instead of, obviously Dubai, but it was a little bit further out. So it's like, hey, let's get, instead of like, Gun Runner or whatever, like retiring right after the Classic.
Yeah.
Let's have him run 2 more races, and that way we get these horses longer, and then you can retire them. And that's why I said earlier, like, it feels like the Pegasus, Saudi, and Dubai now are more of an extension of the previous year, if that makes sense. That's why it's odd to be like, hey, if you win the Pegasus and now in January, you get in the following Breeders' Cup, which seems like a lifetime away.
Yeah, and you're right. That was the main goal. Is like, let's push him one more, and we did. We got to see Gunrunner live and in person, go gate to wire that day when he won the Pegasus before he retired. We got to see City of Light. I don't think I think he retired after that race, but it doesn't matter. It was a great thing. It helped prolong, at least, even if it's just one race. It helped kind of prolong it. And then basically, what happened is Saudi came in with the money, and now, like the Saudi Cup, Dubai World Cup, it kind of does the same thing, and I think that's great. But it also, like, now, like, let's take Sovereignty for an example, right? If the Saudi Cup didn't exist, we would probably get him in the Pegasus, assuming he runs as a 4-year-old, right? We're now the first time we're going to see Sovereignty back in the United States, assuming he runs as a 4-year-old, is probably like the Whitney at Saratoga. So listen, you can do whatever you want, right? You can make a race and do whatever you want, but the Saudi Cup really hurt, us getting to see our star horses in the United States.
I mean, when they have that kind of money to throw around, it's hard. Like, I think a lot of Americans would rather not go, right? But when you're throwing around that kind of money, it's like, well,
you have to.
You have like $20 million for a horse that, let's be honest, like, a horse that maybe can't win over here, like a regular Whitney or whatever. I mean, how do you not, right?
Yeah. And Manlow, I can't express it's one of the most frustrating things of my entire career. He says look, you can make an argument that the idea of the Pegasus was the most innovative thing horse racing's done in a long, long time. You can't believe the backlash from people that would directly benefit greatly from this being a major day on the calendar. Everybody in those media rooms just made fun of this over and over and over. Every year we'd be at the Breeders' Cup and, they'd be like, hey, we'll see you at the Pegasus. So there's no way that stupid thing will happen again. And Jared and I are sitting back there as businessmen, obviously, and as people that love the sport. And we're like, these people have created, whether you think it's stupid or not, have created a massive day of racing in January when we have nothing. And you guys aren't smart enough to support this. It was just insane. And it's still that way. It's crazy. Like, we all as an industry should have gotten behind this 1,000,000%, because it is a big day for us. But it could be a lot bigger day if the agenda wasn't to make fun of it. And I never understood it. One of our own damn employees, I had to call him and chew his ass out because he was mouthing about it on Twitter after the race one year. And I'm like, hey, this helped pay you for a couple months because of this event, right? And it's like, what are you doing? So I don't understand that. And it's always been a hot button issue for me. I didn't think I was going to get on this rant today of all times, but it's always been just a thing that has irritated me from day one. And look, as a fan, you can say and do whatever you want. You're probably betting it, whatever. But as an industry, you have to get behind stuff like this. And they just, no, they didn't do it. So it really pisses me off. But anyway.
Well, I know. Yeah. Cause it was always, for me, it was always like, well, we have, it created a day out of thin air. So essentially, for the industry, not, betting, the numbers were great. And for us in the industry for exposure and getting website traffic and those things is, it was like, this is like, literally feels like, I mean, yeah, it's like you have the Holy Bull and things like that, but this was a race that was created out of thin air, because as fun as Dubai is, in Saudi now, for that matter, and they're fun races and they're fun to watch. They don't do anything for us. Not a single thing. Like, no one's buying Dubai picks or watching our. I mean, sure, we might have a preview where we talk about who we think is going to win Dubai, but okay, great, but it doesn't do what the Pegasus does or what it is done. And so, yeah, it created something that literally out of thin air, and it was always like this weird backlash. And the racing, other than there for a while, it was like the racing was pretty average, other than the Pegasus, and now you've got 3 Pegasus races, but it still was like the money and the amount of the amount of money that was going into the pools was great. And it was like, I never really quite understood. The one thing I wish they would have done and wish they would do is have the Holy Bull on the card.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish I've always like, let's have that like have like actual graded stakes races under the card as well, to make it like a complete day of racing. But that's the only thing that I would say that I wish they would do.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that they've added, they added the turf and the Philly Mare turf. I think that's cool. And and it's almost like a Breeders' Cup light. But you're never gonna get. That's the other thing too, is it's a good opportunity for a lot of these horses, because you're never gonna get any of these international horses for the most part. You do some. They're starting to see a little bit of international horses that will still run in it, but is with the turf anyways, with the turf added. But it's a good opportunity for horses to run in these big races that don't have to compete with the Breeders' Cup type horses.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like said, they at first it was the undercard was a little light. They had stakes, but they were kind of smaller ones. But now it's a pretty good day of racing. And I know every January when that card comes out, I go, oh wow, we haven't seen a card this good for a couple months.
Yeah, I know, right?
Damn them. Let's make sure to write our articles about how silly this is. And it's just like, I don't know. I remember it was Arrogant versus California Chrome, the rematch. It was California Chrome's last race. I remember we went down there, were like over the moon excited about it. And it's just like still people were skeptical and like complain. Like, I'm talking again, fans you can have whatever opinion you want, and that's fine. Like if you hate it, that's fine. But as an industry, again, it's almost like our industry just turns their nose up at anything that isn't traditional. And
that's really what it is.
Yeah, it's what it is. And it's like, there's no way this will work. It's like, well, it won't work if you keep telling everybody it won't work. Know? So anyway, I'm done. I don't want to go on anymore, but it really is just one of the more just baffling things that I can remember. So
who was the horse that was it last year? Oh yeah, I was just looking it up. Warm Heart winning that race, the turf race, and that was international.
Yeah,
and that was a good horse.
How about the year we had Life is Good versus Knicks Go? Do you remember how exciting that was?
Yeah,
the build up for that race and the performance. I mean, we've had some great performance. We've also had some terrible. Mucho Gusto. I mean, that wasn't a great running of the race, right? So. Anyway,
and fun fact, we were there obviously for that race for the inaugural one, and we were credentialed, and so we went to the backside afterwards and got to see both Chrome and Arrogate, and that was pretty neat. The bummer of that was, like obviously Chrome didn't fire, so you didn't really get to see. You like immediately were like, oh yeah, this is over.
Yeah.
But Arrogate put on a show, which was pretty cool, and it was at that day I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be a cool thing. But with all good things in racing, well, it's like the kid winning the new owner. I don't know what's his name, the new owner of the year award, and it's like Twitter and everything went in a full shitstorm because they can't believe they would give it to him. I texted to you. I don't even know when that was, like Friday night or something. I was like, you and I both, we've been in this industry for a long time. And I was like, I didn't know that was an award. I didn't know that was something we gave out. And then you were like, who even gave that out? And so I had to look it up, and I think it was a jockey club maybe or something. And it's like, yeah, Griffin Johnson, thank you. And it's like, who cares? It's insane the amount of people that were hot about this. Hot about this, and I still don't understand. I'll be honest, I still don't understand it, or care is maybe the better word.
I think I told you, anybody that cares about this, even the person that won it, if they care about this for more than 1 second, it's too long. Like you told me, and I'm like, how is this a thing? And it's a constant reminder of like, a lot of people really just need to put their phones down because they're just looking for stuff to be mad about at this point. I mean, my God, I didn't even know what it was, and I couldn't care less. They could have given it to you, and I wouldn't have cared.
Well, It's not like, and then like grin, like I don't care, like what you think about him, or hey, he didn't earn any ownership, he didn't pay, some of these guys that pay for horses and put all the hard work in and blah blah blah, whatever. Who cares? My thing is like he didn't campaign for this award and win it, and like it's like you hate like getting mad at the person that received it is insane to me. Because he didn't do anything to get the award. He just did what he do? He brought eyeballs to the sport, and like he was like the darling all summer, right? For the Sandman thing, and everyone loved him. And then he wins this award, and all of a sudden it's like, fuck him.
Yeah,
how dare him win that award? And it's like he didn't ask for it. Who cares? Like it's not like he like, oh fuck you all, I did it, I earned this. It's like they gave it to him. And if you're mad, you want to be mad at anybody, which is still insane to be mad about it. If you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at the people that gave it to him, right? Like if that is a thing, be mad at them, not him. It's just insane to me. It's almost like, you want to be like whisper to the kid, like leave now. Yeah, like get out while you can.
It's like, to me, it's like, be mad at the people that gave him the award. Who gave it to him? I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know how to be mad at these people. Like, I have never heard of it before. And you told me, well, Jason Worth won it last year. I was like, great. I don't care then.
Didn't
I
know
don't
that.
care now.
Yeah.
I don't care ever who wins this award. Ever. Like, it's crazy that people are so upset about something that they probably had never even heard of until this happened.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. And
No.
I text Magic about it, and I was like, did you know this about this award? Like, he's like, nope. Like, I didn't either. Like
so no, literally nobody.
No one knew about it. Like, like they could that award could have never been given out and never been mentioned ever again. And I don't think anybody would ever be like, I wonder who won the new owner of the year award in 2025.
What was it actually called? Because I again, that conversation left my brain immediately after you were done typing. So
sure, someone in the chat can tell us what it is actually called. It was something about the new owner of the year, like the and Jockey Club gave it out. It wasn't even an Eclipse Award or anything like that. It was like a Jockey Club. The Jockey Club gave it out. That's all I know.
So the Jockey Club gives us out. Okay.
And what people were hot about was that he didn't earn it necessarily because, he was given a percentage of the horse, because of his, his push of it in like the social media aspect. But like what, it wasn't like the Joe Smith that has put in all this hard work to, and I'm not downplaying those guys because they're certainly out there that have put in all the money and the hard work to raise and own and whatever horses. But it's like, again, it goes back to the idea of like, it wasn't his award. Like he just got it, it's like getting something in the mail one day and people getting mad at you because you received it. And you're like, I didn't ask for it.
Did anybody have a suggestion for who should have won it?
There was, I saw countless, just, so-and-so. I wouldn't know. Who would you give it to?
I have no idea. Not a clue.
You
know why? Because I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
And no one else should either.
No.
But anyways, all right. That's I forgot about it, and then
I've been a new owner, by the way. I could have won it.
Yeah. Why didn't you win that award?
Well, guess what? If I would have won it, it might sit over there, but I never would think about it again. I can promise you that.
And then you would have been like, when they gave it to you, you'd be like, really?
Well, I would have been like, what is
why?
It? Yeah. The only like awards that I know of are the Eclipse Awards, and other than that, I would be like, well, I would be thank you. I hope I don't have to go anywhere for the, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, you have no idea, Shotty.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't entered the phase. We're deep in the phase. We're at the end of the phase, and it's so bad now that I do it now 6-7. I don't even know what it means, but I just know it means nothing really. And that all the kids do it. And, now I just literally we'll be driving. And this is how bad it is. We'll be driving. And all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere, I'll hear 6-7, and it's because I'm going 67 miles per hour, or the weather in my truck says 67, 67 degrees outside, or what? I mean, channel 67. Or if you say, one day we were playing in our flag football game and we were running off at halftime, and one of the kids said, "Hey, what's the score?" And I said, "I think it's 6-7," and I wasn't even thinking about it, and everyone, the opposing team, my team, erupted in 6-7, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. It's like the most. But then you like look back, and our generation was saying "what's up" and shit like that, and so like, can we really make fun of what they're doing now? Because we all had that time. But yeah, it's my kids are 6 and 9, and
yeah,
it still hit them. So
69. See, who would have thought 69 would have been replaced by 6-7?
Well, hey, 69 is ageless. It's timeless.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's the most popular number to say anymore. So
nice.
Yeah,
nice. All right, guys, let's get to the actual show. We don't, it's not a huge show just because we don't know the racing is lighter, clearly.
Let's be honest, Jared. If we're gonna sit here and bullshit on a show, tonight's tonight.
No, we almost shouldn't have even had a show other than just this, like just the bullshit hour.
Yeah.
Of bring your topics to us,
right?
Because let's be honest, we're talking about Kentucky Derby horses, but it's November 13th. Yeah. So, who cares, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
One comment on my video was like, "This is silly." I was like, "Well, no shit, it is." But people like,
yeah,
fucking said it. Like I said it at the beginning. I was like, "This is ridiculous."
I know it's silly. What
people will watch it. People will get excited. So,
yeah, at the end of the day, it's this time of the year is fun in the regard of like you're trying to kind of sniff out those maidens that are coming up and whatever. But it's like, okay. It's Ted Naffy, and then it's everyone else. We're trying to figure it out and see. Right. So, but that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about some top 5 Kentucky Derby horses. Then we're gonna get some wrap. Hey, we are gonna actually go back to giving some picks. We haven't done that since before the Breeders' Cup at Aqueduct, Churchill, and Gulfstream Park. We have some very, as my kids would say, mid races this weekend, but they're not bad. They're mid, and so we'll talk about those races as well. Let's go. Listen, all my adult friends hate me or think I'm like totally douchey because I just talk like my kids do. And so everything's like bro and mid and 6-7 or drip and all this stuff. And they're like, well, who are you? I'm like, listen, I hang out with, 9-year-olds all day or all the time. And my house is like the fun house. Like I have, my neighborhood kids and we have flag or football games, baseball games, whatever out in the front yard. And so I'm just around just a bunch of freaking idiot kids, And so it's how it's how I talk. It's you look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. You're like, how did you turn out to be this guy?
How did we get here?
Yeah. What happened? All right. Let's see. Let me pull it up because I kind of am curious. Kentucky Derby. Do they have? Oh, all right. Let's see. We are 169 days, away from the Kentucky Derby on May 2nd, 2026. So what better time than to talk about our Kentucky Derby top 5 horses, right, Halterman? You got them just honed in, exact science. You know exactly who they are, right?
I do. Yeah, I absolutely have the 5 that'll finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, I'm ready.
The cold top 5. Let's start it off with your number 5. And again, this, if you want to go more analysis, and this is again Halterman from Halterman's video from this week at racingdudes.com. I'll add some horses here, some honorable mentions as we go, but we'll kick things off with Halterman's number 5, and that is Blackout Time, who is last seen finishing 2nd in the Futurity.
That's right, because he got blacked out of the Breeders' Cup by the vets. So he could not run. He was supposed to run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he couldn't. Yeah, he got scratched. Before I say it, last year's video, I went back and watched it. And it was the same. It was the week after the Breeders' Cup. I had the first video for 2025. Sovereignty was 4. And he won it. So there was the winner ranked in the top 5 last year. The number 1 horse was Citizen Bull. He did run in the Derby, finished 15th. East Avenue was ranked 3rd in that list. He ended up running 8th. So honestly, the list from last year wasn't that bad. That's okay. But yeah, when we go to blackout time here and we start with him, it's definitely a horse that I think has some upside. I thought ran okay against Ted Nafi. I have no idea how he turns the tables. He's just going to have to obviously get a little bit better. But I've been the worst thing that he got scratched out long term. I know short term it's a terrible thing, but long term, kind of just hit the reset and have him ready and fresh for a nice 2026. So I think he's got talent. So I've got him second here. We'll see.
I'll go ahead and do what I'll do. If there's a horse that's not on your top 5 but is in like a race or something we talk about, I'll throw it in there. So I'll add litmus tests to the list here. And again, this litmus test finished 3rd in that same race with blackout time and Ted Nafi. Baffert has ran this horse in several races. Obviously thinks a decent amount of this horse, but it's not been great, right? He went to the charity 4th, the Claiborne for charity 3rd, the juvenile 4th. He's ran them in all the races. He's just not, winning. But he could also, like we've seen that before with Baffert horses that continue to run him in all these races, but don't necessarily win, but they continue to run and pick up points. So I think Litmus Test is a horse that, again, lack of options at this moment, could be a horse that you see in a bunch of these California type races in the spring.
I thought he made a decent middle move in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
All right.
I mean, when you scale back, you're like, okay, he's running. That's how I would describe him. Now, he didn't end up doing much, but I wouldn't just say, hell with him. I think he'll be around. We'll see what happens. He's going to have to look. I mean, the biggest thing with him, he's going to have to get better because he has matched up with Ted Nafi a couple times and it wasn't really close.
Well, that's what's funny about the list is that for a lot of them, it's well, I'll include this horse because he ran okay against Ted Nafi. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's it. Because he was in the picture with Ted Nafi. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's well, is it at this juncture, do you think it's more likely that one of these horses that also ran to Ted Nafi gets good enough to beat him? Or is it more of hey, it's Ted Nafi until proven otherwise, meaning until a new horse shows up in the picture? And I think it's far more likely to be the latter.
Probably so. Probably. I totally agree with you, actually. Yeah, I mean, so what I'm doing this year, I feel like after you said that's a good time to kind of explain. What I'm doing this year, I'm waiting until they run in something other than a maiden before I put them very high. Because more often than not, those maiden winners don't turn out to be great. Now, look, that being said, I said to start the show, we're probably going to see a few. We've might already seen maybe one or two. Let's just let them win a stakes or at least run in a stakes, run against winners before we crown them the world champions, right? So that's kind of my approach at this point. So anyway, I thought that might be as good time as ever to say that.
All right, next one up, number 4, Incredible, obviously a son to Bull Duero.
Yeah, kind of a cool story, I guess, here. Riley Mott has this horse. Of course, Sovereignty won the Street Sense last year for his father, Bill Mott. Incredible won it this year. So, just kind of makes comparisons already. This horse is not Sovereignty. And I don't think this horse is going to be Sovereignty. I want to make that extremely clear. But look, he is a horse that has a right to improve. I thought he ran pretty well. I debuted Sovereignty at number 4 last year, so I thought let's throw Riley Mott's Incredible here at number 4 this year to kind of keep the comparison going. So we'll see though with him. I think he's got to get faster, but I do think you give him credit for that win. It was a nice win to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, Jorge likes Ted Nafi, but also obviously Credible. It's on the list. Litmus Test is on there. It really feels like I thought it was a good performance. Winner of the, like you said, the Street Sense winner. It was a solid effort. Again, it's just you don't have a lot to go off of. Do I think this horse is like the Derby horse? I don't know. Maybe. I think here's the thing. The biggest thing for me at this juncture when I'm going through horses, it's not necessarily, obviously there's 2 different categories. There's Well, I'd say 3 different categories, right? It's the ones that are proven, which is kind of Ted Noffy. There's the ones that are like, hey, I think these horses are going to run a lot. Like they're either running in stakes races now or winning. Have just won a stakes race. They're probably going to run in a lot of those early Derby preps, so they have a ton of opportunity, right, to prove themselves in the Derby picture. And then the other category is just the unknowns, the maiden special weights, the ones that have a high purchase price and good trainers, the ones that you've heard a lot about that have beautiful sires or whatever. Then there's that category. And to me, Incredible falls in that middle tier where it's like, hey, he just won the Street Sense. He's got good connections, probably going to end up running at least early on in some of these, Derby preps.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good category to have him in. On that subject, do you have Further Ado ranked at all?
I don't, no.
Okay, so let's talk about that horse for a second, because Further Ado is certainly the horse that gets the most comments when you start talking, because he won a maiden special weight by 20 lengths last time out at Keeneland. His first 2 races were at Saratoga, and they weren't all that great. They weren't awful, but obviously they weren't wins. And so then he broke the maiden by 20 when stretching out at Saratoga. So that's kind of like the point I was going to make before we go on the list. I don't have him ranked yet. I think it's fine if you guys do out there listening, or you think this is crazy. Here's what I've learned after a lot of years of doing this now. You can chase these maidens over and over and over and over and over. Most of them aren't going to develop. You will eventually get 1 or 2, but you're going to miss a lot as well. Like when you think of all the horses the last 3 or 4 years specifically that we jump on after that maiden win, and they never do much after that, that list is 10 times longer than the ones we are like maiden winner and now, yeah, they did do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying never play a maiden when he goes to a stakes. No, or just a maiden winner when he goes to stakes. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying this year I'm taking a more conservative approach to crown those horses as the next coming of Secretariat, like we tend to do. I'm not doing it this year. Now, again, Further Ado, if he runs, let's say in the Kentucky Jockey Club next, he very well could be my pick. Yeah. I'm just not saying he's the number 1 Derby horse until I see what this horse can do against Stakes Company.
Well, the reality is, let's just say like this weekend or even today's show was the actual fantasy draft that we do, right?
He would be the second pick in my opinion.
He would be like top 5 pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also may never win a stakes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what you're saying in a nutshell is like he probably deserves to be well thought of because of the lack of options at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And how kind of visually impressive, and the number came back good too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still November, and he just broke the maiden after 2 really pretty disappointing efforts before that. So it could go either way. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad. I don't think he could be anything. So it's just kind of what it is. But all right, let's go to your number 3 horse, who, by the way, ran a nice run in the Breeders' Cup, Mr. AP.
Yeah, Mr. AP. I went ahead and ranked him number 3. His 2 races around 2 turns have been really good. The maiden win was impressive. And look, I kind of think Ted Noffy was more than just a length or 2 better than him in that race. But at the same time, he did run up into second. He was moving. He made it a little bit interesting. He got past Brandt, so look, I don't love him. But I do think he's kind of earned his way up here, and it was a pretty good showing. I've heard they're going to wait till next year to get him going again. I think that's good, and we'll see how he pans out. So I like what they've done with him, and it's kind of cool. This horse was in maiden claiming races to start, and now sitting up here on the Derby list.
Yeah, Derby list and Derby points as well. Finishing second in the juvenile got him some points. So, what do I'll admit, one of my horses, you obviously mentioned him. What the kind of the Brandt, the Intrepido, those horses, like you don't have them on your top 5. Spoiler alert. What are you like? Where are you at with Brandt? Are you kind of similar to Incredible, although way more proven in some regards?
I'm just gonna be honest, and people can disagree with me if they want, but I don't see a point in ranking any Baffert horse. I guess just point to a horse since the positive test of Medina Spirit, and he's been able to keep healthy at this point and actually even run in the Derby at all, if not even the last round of preps. I don't see it. I don't think. First of all, I don't think Brandt really showed much, and I'm not sitting here and inferring anything. I'm not going to get into that anymore. I'm just going to tell you kind of the facts of handicapping. I mean, will any of these horses that we've seen be around in March, let alone May? And here's another thing about Baffert horses that I find fascinating. He kind of made his name being able to turn these horses around pretty quick, and they run pretty quick. If you go back and look at like Dortmund and American Pharoah, even Justify, it just, you can keep going down a lot of them, right? If we go down the road of kind of, quote unquote, back in the day, man, they didn't skip preps, man. They ran every 3 or 4 weeks. Now it's like, we might see him in January, and then it'll probably be April before this horse runs again. And it's like, I don't trust Bob Baffert right now. Until he kind of shows me otherwise, I don't really see any reason to rank any of his horses at this point.
Well, it's like, the news of Nysos returning, and you're like, okay, cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that means, I hope like he's returning next year. Great. When will we actually see him again? So it's like, and I'm not saying that meaning like I don't think he'll be here until June, but at the same time, I don't know. It's hard to get excited about them if you don't know when they're going to be running.
Well, and especially when you're trying to project 3-year-olds in November or 2-year-olds in November to be 3-year-olds and run in the Kentucky Derby. It's like, well, one trainer I don't have any confidence in to do that is Bob Baffert. And I get, it's just for me at this. And again, I'm not trying to get in the weeds with this at all. I'm saying, as a person who handicaps and follows racing, I don't have any reason to think any different than what I just said. Right. Like, and it really seeps into the older horses as well. Seismic Beauty, that's one. And you could go on and on. And how many horses have come back this year for Baffert and you go, holy shit, I forgot about that horse. I mean, that happens a lot. So again, let's just call it a rash of bad luck, or you as a listener can do whatever you want with it. I'm just saying that's the information, and that's how I'm approaching it. Now, look, I think if you bet Bob Baffert in a future right now, you're insane. But if you get to race day and they make it to the race, I still think they can show up and run very well. Look at Nysos. I thought Imagination ran great in the sprint. I thought, obviously, the Philly Mare sprint, those horses ran well. So you can still trust him. But, let's say there was a future wager that Imagination was going to run in like a sprint in January. No way I would bet Imagination in that spot. And that's, look, I don't really care if it makes people mad or not. That's just me following the sport. And that's just how I feel about it.
Well, anybody that's owned quote unquote a horse in the fantasy league since like what you mentioned, since Medina Spirit, knows exactly the thought process. Because we were watching, okay, we got a workout, great, another workout, great, another workout. Well, shit, he hasn't worked out in 4 weeks now. Oh shit, now he's back. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't. Then it's like all of a sudden he pops up. Oh, he's running wherever, Sunland. Oh shit, okay. No, he's not actually. And then it's like you just don't know. It's like it's hard. Like you say, you don't know how to get behind him. You have horses like Shoddy says, Cornucopian, who flash in the pan. All of a sudden, this horse is the next Justify, and now he's MIA. And can't win any races. And then and I think Manlow makes a really good comment. Brandt is just as likely to win the Pat Day Mile off a 5-month layoff as he is to run in any Derby preps, and that's really well said, because it's like
100%.
Totally, you can see he could go in again. Like you said, oh shit, I forgot about Brandt. He's in the Pat Day Mile. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and he wins the damn thing. It's just as likely to, hey, he ran in in the San Vicente, and he ran in the San Antonio Derby or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe, possibly, but I don't know.
I think that's perfectly said. And I think Nisos is a recent example. He was just as likely to run a great race and win the dirt mile or scratch the morning of the race. Like for me, it was a 50-50 proposition. And that's why he was my best bet of the Breeders' Cup, because I knew if he ran, he was going to run well, but he may scratch and be, so anyway, this is a weird comment because I got involved a lot with we got to do something about this with Bob Baffert. And I don't really care anymore. I just try to pick the horses now. I don't try to even think about that, but you do just kind of have to take what you're seeing and go with it. And I mean, I remember with the fantasy league, again, years ago, when you drafted a Bob Baffert horse, you were going to get 3 races, right? Like that horse was running. And now you draft Citizen Bull and he runs once in January and you're like, okay, we're going to run that Santa Anita series. And then it's like, no, there's no way he can run in the middle one. And it's like, great. Now he's going to run twice, and it's just like, and I know people are out there, well, he got hurt or this, that, and the setbacks. They all seemingly are doing this. So and then you got your horse. I can't even a getaway car.
Oh, geez.
Where it's like, he ran him to death. Quite,
and
I don't know where
never.
And now it's like, then he just totally disappears. I don't know, dude. I don't trust him. I don't trust him to keep the horses in training. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, then you got Cornucopian going to the Arkansas Derby, and that was just a shit show. So yeah, because I mean, it used to be, like you say, you could trust kind of the spots, you could trust when he showed up, or trust that, and you can sometimes, but or you could be like, hey, I'm gonna get a bunch of races out of this. He's gonna, and now you're like, I don't know.
That's just it. Yeah, I don't know. And again, I'm not sitting here saying anything. Maybe it is just a very bad rash of luck. It could be. Because the other problem is I don't have any proof of anything, so it could just be bad luck. It could be, maybe change his training style a little bit, or I don't know. Maybe this year they'll all stay healthy and they'll all be there. That could be as well. We'll see. But at this moment, I think you got to tread lightly on future wagers involving his horses.
Yeah, a future wager on a Baffert horse is, I mean, they're all, roll the dice. You can pull the slot machine handle, but this with him, no idea. All right, let's go to your number 2, Napoleon Solo. Interesting horse here to put number 2.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with him. I thought his race last time out in the Champaign was super, super, super impressive. I was very, very impressed with him. Chad Summers, the trainer. We know Chad Summers can win big races. He trained Mind Your Biscuits, and he's not a bad trainer. We know that. He's not maybe that household Pletcher Brown name, but we know he can pop with a good one. I liked kind of the conservative strategy of let's not go to the Breeders' Cup. Let's kind of get ready for next year. I ultimately don't know how far this horse will want to go. I think he will be able to go 2 turns okay. I just really like the talent level. So I've got him number 2. We'll see what happens. But Chad Summers had a pretty good summer and fall up there in New York. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he he's looked really, really good in both his starts. Like not like scary good, really. Hasn't even sniffed getting beat. Of course, it was 6 furlongs and 1 mile, but shit, I mean, the horse, it's hard. It's like you say, he's not a household name, Chad Summers. You kind of sometimes oh, that's trained by Chad Summers. Like, probably not, Yeah. But gosh, I mean, you can't argue with results, and yeah, he's a Grade 1 winner. He won a Grade 1 at Belmont the Big A by over 6 lengths. So I mean, there's that. So there, I don't. It'll be interesting to see what this horse does, where he goes next. I assume he's going to stay out in the New York circuit. But this is a horse that I think could be really, really good. But again, like you said, how far he wants to go, I don't know. And he doesn't I don't know. He doesn't have Yes, he won the Champagne. The Champagne wasn't exactly awesome this year. He doesn't have a lot of kind of back class, to kind of that. So it's like he's still untested in those regards. But yeah, I like. I think he's an interesting play. Be interesting to see what he does.
Yep, for sure.
All right, let's go to our number one. I mean, what if we didn't have him here? What if we didn't? Like number one, not a surprise. Your Breeders' Cup winner of 3 straight Grade 1s. Certainly, you're going to be your your top horse, top 2-year-old this year, Ted Nafi, who just was awesome at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it to him right now, for sure. He is he's kind of, I mean, he should be unanimous 2-year-old of the year, right? It should, so he's there right now. Only 2 horses have won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Kentucky Derby. And it's tough to do, that horses develop all around you. And sometimes just an earlier developer wins that race. So look, I think he's checked the boxes. He did kind of look a little green in that race, obviously a little, in the stretch, just kind of re-engaged late and galloped away from him. So yeah, he's here for now. I think it's going to take a good horse to beat him, but could a couple good horses develop? Sure. But as of right now, yeah, Ted Nafi, it's a pretty easy number 1 at this point.
Yeah, he just, again, I can't get past how much he reminds me. And I think it helps the fact that he is trained by the same trainer and, similar kind of path to the Derby as Forte, just kind of that he was the bar, right? It's like, hey, this is the bar. Now, I'm not saying he can't be beat, but this is what you're going to have to do to beat him, right? And they, unfortunately, he got an injury as didn't really get to prove what he could do in the Derby, but the fact that Mage won it and what he beat Mage, and I think it's like, oh, well, I think he would have won, but you never know. Point is, I think Ted Nafi is the horse that I think is just going to be, and maybe he turns into Sovereignty. I don't know, but I think just the way Pletcher trains and the way we've seen in history with his other ones, I think you're going to see like a very kind of like, hey, he's going to run his race every time. He's going to be very, very good every time. You're going to have to find me a really good horse to beat him. And otherwise, as long as he stays healthy, I think he's got a really good chance to be in that 3rd horse to do it.
Yeah, he's the one. I mean, Joseph says, why no excitement about Ted? I mean, we've ranked him number 1 and we're saying it's going to take a really good horse to beat him. I think why I would call it tempered excitement is because of what I said. Only 2 horses have won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Kentucky Derby. It is not an easy thing to do, but what could he do? I mean, to make you any more excited, like he's checking all the boxes. So it's just a matter of development, and hopefully, if he can keep developing, he's squarely the one to beat heading in to 2026. It is not even close.
It's
with
just so
else.
hard to do. Like you said, it's just like for 2 reasons. One, to stay healthy, and stay top line all year, because horses kind of tend to get better and better, and maybe he will stay healthy. And then 2, you go back and look at a horse. This is an extreme example, but it does happen a lot where you have a good horse, say like a Good Magic or even a Bolt d'Oro or something, and then all of a sudden here comes a horse named Justified. Now, obviously that was extreme, but good horses pop up all the time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, this horse may not be the best one in the group, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be that good in November and that good still in May. And so that's why, like Halterman says, it's tempered because it happens, right? But
yeah,
I do believe in his training style, the way he is trained, who he's trained by, I should say, that it's going to take an effort to beat him. I don't, other than injury, right? But like, I just think he's going to be there, and it's going to take someone to come get him. Remember the Florida Derby with Forte? It's like, oh, they finally did it, and
they're going to beat him. Yeah,
and he didn't. He came fired back and got him, and it was an insane race. And I think it's like, okay, it's going to take a big effort to beat him, clearly.
Yeah. No, yeah. And you're right. And I remember going into the Kentucky Derby thinking maybe it's just as easy as it's Forte here. Right.
Yeah.
And like I said, then he didn't get to run, but, yeah, I also think this horse really looks like one that is going to like going longer too. I'm really kind of excited for the prospects. And again, like I do think, look, you could say, man, it's a negative. That horse lost kind of focus, kind of a positive in the same way of, hey, he just won the biggest race for a 2-year-old and he's still pretty green. There's
Got a
still
little
room
lazy.
to improve there. And that's good because you want, he's not going to win it being the same horse he is now. So you want that room to improve and get better.
Yeah, I mean, I read the quotes. I'm sure most people did, but from Johnny V after the race, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, like he got bored, like he got distracted. There's like a shadow at the 8th pole. He got a little distracted, and then lost interest, and then these horses came up on him, and he re-engaged, and it was it was over. So it was like he confirmed it, and it looked that's the way it looked when you watched it. Like, oh, he just kind of idled for a second, and then re-engaged. And so yeah, I mean, it could be like, man, what can this horse be if he's this good? I mean, it's really hard to win 3 straight Grade 1 races. At on the toughest, he did it at Saratoga, he did it at Keeneland, and he did it at the Breeders' Cup. That's pretty solid.
It is.
And we're sitting here talking like, oh man, it's like he kind of feels like he's still figuring it out a little bit, and that's a good thing because I would personally rather have that than seeing a horse that's like, oh, this horse is just so like he's there. He's like, wow, can the Derby please be here next week? Like, can he get there? No, this horse might be getting better as they get there, hopefully. So that's kind of why That's why Pletcher is very like, okay, we know what we have. Let's, here's how we get him there now. Now we're going to run him just twice. We're going to do boom, boom, fire at the Derby. And, I think we said it right after. It's like, well, the unfortunate part is we're probably only going to see him 2 more times before the Derby, but it's a blueprint and it's worked.
Yep. I will just see what happens with him. But you back and watch the Hopeful. He did that same thing. He was just so far ahead. It didn't really, the horses weren't coming to him, but he freaking took off the last 100 yards of that race too. And so if they can kind of get him to kind of do that for longer parts of the stretch, he may just be better, period. We'll see though. Like I said, it's such a long journey from, November to May.
Well, last I checked, they run them as 3-year-olds in the Derby, and they're still 2 now. So we still have a minute before we get an answer. But Ted Nafi is unequivocally the number 1 horse as we enter December and really enter the new year. So we'll see what happens with Ted Nafi. There is a very, 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 very early look at our top 5 for the Kentucky Derby. Another horse that I didn't mention, I had on my list, but I forgot to mention, is Butane. Remember that horse for Baffert, who shipped that horse out for the Hopeful and was a favorite actually of the Hopeful. Did finish second. It was a mile second, but he's finished second. Hasn't been seen since. There's heard that one before.
Shocking. Yeah,
I know, right? But obviously he was thought well enough to go out there and run the race. I remember thinking like, what is he doing out there? Would be shocked if that horse shows up randomly at some point.
Yeah, he's got a bunch. It's just a matter of, okay, who's healthy and who can kind of make it there. But yeah, I mean, listen, Baffert's going to win some prep races. he's just going to. By the way, good time to bring it up here as we transition to the races. Sunday at Del Mar was supposed to be the Bob Hope, which is kind of, I think it's 7 furlongs for the 3-year-olds, or for the 2-year-olds. It did not fill. So they're going to bring that. We're going to try to bring it back next week. But I thought that was interesting because Baffert usually has pretty much the whole field in that. So I don't know. I thought that was, I don't know. I thought, man, that's odd. So does he not have anything ready for that? So it didn't fill. So now also the weather is kind of weird. They had to cancel Saturday at Del Mar. So maybe that had a little something to do with it. I don't know.
You don't. At least you'll say, well, they got it filled, but it's because they have 4 Bafferts in the race,
Yeah.
So yeah, that is that's pretty shocking. He couldn't even help get the race filled.
I mean, I would guess he's got something for it, but I guess he didn't have enough. Basically. So
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Mhm.
All right, time for rapid fire presented by Stable Stakes. That's right, stablestakes.com. Congratulations. I think Shoddy, you finished like top 5 in the Racing Dudes, the Beat the Dudes challenge over there at Stable Stakes. Ended there the Friday of the Breeders' Cup. Stablestakes.com if you haven't done it, so check it out. It's racing with a twist, basically. So you get cash games if you're in an eligible state. They have 9 races this weekend: Aqueduct, Gulfstream, Laurel, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they're limiting to only 25 entries per contest with a $20 entry, 0% takeout. So all of it's going back to the players, and $4,500 in weekend prize pool. So $4,500 up for grabs, 0% takeout. They're literally doing everything they can to give you guys money. Shoddy knows a thing or two about that. Won again today. It's honestly, it's a little insane. I had a call with them yesterday, I think it was, and I was like, is Shoddy like ruining the game? Like, is she like, do we need to like block her account or what? She's like, oh yeah, we see her, she does very good in this contest. And shit, I mean, every time I hear from her, it's like, oh, I won again. And she cashed in the tournament as well. So, if you want to join Shoddy, head over to stablestakes.com. It's like daily fantasy sports with horse racing. So instead of picking the winner, you're picking jockeys, you're picking trainers, you're picking sires, which is kind of a fun. And then you have aspects to it. So that way, hey, I had the horse because I had 2 connections involved or whatever. And so it's a fun way to get your picks involved, but without actually picking the winner of the race. So head on over to stablestakes.com. Again, this weekend is a great time to try. If you're not in an eligible state, you can still play feed tournaments as they get more states approved, and you can learn the game and start to develop your skills while your state gets eligible. Hopefully Missouri gets added at some point, right?
That would be great.
It's only been a year since it passed.
Well, December 1st is supposed to be, as we count down, it's supposed to be when we're legal. So I'm not going to believe it until it happens. That's what I'm going to say.
Again, stablestakes.com, Aqueduct, Laurel, and Gulfstream Park. Let's talk a little bit about the aforementioned Aqueduct this weekend. We'll start with rapid fire here with race number 7 at Aqueduct, the Grade 3 Jockey Club Oaks. 350K, 1 3/8 miles on the turf for fillies, 3-year-olds, field of 8 lined up here. Did you go on Fionn for Brad Cox at 2-1 or Laura Lynn, the 7 horse at 8-5?
Yeah, I stuck with Fionn one more time. I bet Fionn the last time that her and Laura Lynn matched up in the QE2. And look, I thought Fionn got way too far behind. I thought the track played too much to speed. The top 3 runners of that race early in the QE2 ended up running 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to give Fionn another chance. I think hopefully gets a little bit more of a better trip, or at least a track that's a little bit more favorable to her style. So yeah, I'm going to go number 4, Fionn, one more time here. This is a really good race. I like Laura Lynn a lot, but I just feel like I need to stick with Fionn.
Yeah, man, I couldn't decide. I was back and forth between these two. I think it's interesting that with that Brad's taking the blinkers off Fionn this time. Apparently didn't like the way she ran that last race. Thought trying something different could make the difference. She faced Laura Lynn that day as well. Laura Lynn beat her, although didn't win the race. Les Schlips got her, but that was her first loss of her career. Still ran a nice race, I thought. I'm going back to the well with Laura Lynn. Has done very little wrong to me and to most people. 3 for 3 at Aqueduct, though. Likes the track, so I think that is a big plus for her first 3 races. She rattled off there winning. So Laura Lynn, for me, gets a little bit better, maybe set up, being a little bit closer, and again, likes the track, and I don't necessarily feel, I think the distance is fine for her. So give me the 7, Laura Lynn. Do you think it's as easy as if you're playing multis as between those two, or do you like anyone else?
I thought the horse on the rails, Scythian, is pretty interesting here. Really, really poor trip last time out. Got third in a race that, look, she should have won, period. But, maybe with a little bit better trip here, has a little bit more of a chance. I give the one a little bit of a shot.
Let's head to Churchill Downs, race number 3 for the Chaluki Stakes. Grade 3, 300K, 1 mile for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds, and upfield of 7 lines up here. All the way to the outside, Bill Mott, 8-5 favorite on Ragtime. But this is a really good betting race because you have a lot of options here with horses that are playable odds. Impel at 9-2, 5-2 on Shred the Gnar, really fast horse who's done nothing wrong, and 3-1 on One Magic Filly. So where'd you go?
I ended up going number 7 Ragtime in this spot. I just couldn't go against her here. Very, very nice horse. Obviously, kind of a heartbreaking loss in the test that day up at Saratoga, but still ran extremely well and then ran great in the Dogwood 2 races back. And I thought ran okay last time out at Keeneland. Just a really tough trip and still almost got the job done. Was flying late. So I went Ragtime on top. The other horse, I really think it's a 2-horse race between Ragtime and Shred the Gnar. I do like this horse. It's just coming off that long layoff. If you remember, Shred the Gnar was super impressive on the Kentucky Oaks undercard in an allowance race. They plan to run the horse on the stakes next and got injured and just has been off since that race back in May. So I'm excited to see Shred the Gnar. I think it's a 2-horse race, but I'll take the horse with a little bit more recency in Ragtime.
Yeah, I mean that's the question mark, right? Well, the question mark is if the class level hits her as well. But with Shred the Gnar, she's easily the fastest horse in the race. She's beaten comeback winners. That last race was really impressive. She has a win at the track. She wins kind of dominating style. Most of those last 2 efforts. I think it's a question mark of if Ragtime can come get her or not. I'm going to stick with the 2, Shred the Gnar. I know it's a layoff. I think it might be the opportunity to get her at, I would say, a price. She's been sub even money, the last 2 starts for her. So maybe you get her at a price you can play here. And, there's very little question about what she's going to do, right? She's going to go to the front. She's going to fly. And you just got to hope that the class / time off doesn't catch up to her there late in the race, but I think she'll give you a good run and hopefully she gets there. So give me the 2, Shred the Gnar. What do you think of, because a horse that I almost played was the 6, One Magic Filly. Now with Brendan Walsh, has been running, this is a horse that was 10-1 the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint last year. And now is in this race at 3-1. Now a lot's changed since then. Yeah. But obviously at one point was very good.
I didn't know. I didn't know what to do with One Magic Filly. I'm a little bit afraid that there might be a little bit of a pace stool in here. I'm not sure what that'll do for One Magic Filly. I ended up kind of just leaning against. I don't know though. I think she's one of those horses that are a little bit confused. She's a little bit confusing in this spot. So I ended up going against a little bit, but he's also, I wouldn't really talk you off the horse. I'm just kind of lukewarm on what we see from her in the spot.
She was at one point, again, she came into that Breeders' Cup that year, rattling off 3 straight wins. I mean, she finished 6th that year and wasn't, totally disappointing. But since then, it took her all the way up until this last time out to get a win, and so obviously some things have gone awry for her, but. I don't know. Just I'm interested, I guess, is the best way to say it. Maybe not 3-1 interested, but maybe if she were 5-1 or something, I could get there. But I don't know. I thought she was interesting to say the least. All right, let's go to the last one here. Gulfstream Park, race 9 on Saturday. The Juvenile Fillies Sprint, 75K, 6.5 furlongs Fillies, 2-year-olds. Field of 8. Goes out here, but the question, I guess, the easiest way to ask this is which Saffy Joseph did you pick?
Yeah, it's always these races are pretty tough to get around him. He's got a couple of good ones here. Well, he's got 3 good ones really. I went with number 1, La Dulce Vita on top in this spot. I think this horse gets loose on the lead. I think when you look at the race last time out, a lot of speed and was able to take him gate to wire. First race on the dirt, they started this horse off on the turf. The races weren't bad, but the dirt race was a lot better. So I'm pretty, I don't know if excited is the right word. It's still just a 2-year-old there at Gulfstream. It's still early, but I think this horse has talent, I guess is how I should phrase it. So give me the number 1, La Dulce Vita.
Yeah, that's actually where I went as well. Because listen, it's interesting because a lot of times you say, okay, well, which horse is Edgar's eye is on, right? That's where I'm going, and that makes sense a lot of times. The thing is though, like, he rode this horse last out. He's never ridden the one La Dulce Vita, and husband's rides for Safi too. And he was riding that horse when the horse broke his maiden last out and looked awesome. So I think it's just one of those cases where it's like, well, I'm going to stick with him, right? I'm going to keep him on there. I'm not going to switch. Zayas was on the other one the last time. Keep them where they're at. So this is one of those kind of somewhat rare opportunities or rare times where you're like, no, actually, I'm not going to go towards Zayas. I'm going to play the hot hand, which I think is very clearly the one. I'm with you on that one. I think the horse gets loose on the lead. It was on the turf to start the career, 2 starts, and then switched to the dirt, and it was awesome. So, yeah, Safi Baffert with 3. I mean, listen, that's the way it is. He is out there with these horses. So,
yeah,
Safi's got a horse at Gulfstream Park or multiple, tend to be one that one of them's going to win.
I feel like Safi Joseph and Irad Ortiz, once that championship meet opens up, they're going to win their respective training and jockey titles by a lot. Like, because a lot of the riders aren't going down there this year full time, and so that's going to be interesting. And then Safi's got I feel like Safi's got like a million horses. He's got a ton. So anyway,
it feels like it. I mean, shit, he's got multiple horses. It feels like in a lot of races.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're both on the 1, La Dulce Vita, and there is a very, very fast edition of Rapid Fire. I mean, listen, we'll start off slow. We don't have a lot to go off of here, but we're easing our way back into handicapping races.
Yeah. We were talking next week's going to be a little slow, and then it gets pretty busy, honestly, after that. So that's the good news.
Dennis wants to know if he missed the Claiming Crown talk.
Yeah, he can go to the website for all the coverage of the Claiming Crown.
racingdudes.com.
That's right.
For all your needs. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Make sure you check us out at racingdudes.com for free and premium picks. Dennis, there you go. Just go check out the everything you really need. I mean, the website's like 95% free. But if you want more, it's obviously all there. We're on Twitter at race_dudes, Instagram, Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off of visiting our podcast page. Anywhere you like to listen to, we're there. Go to YouTube. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Dudes Who Bet Sports. You want that talk? We're on last night, or I guess yesterday. The Magic Mike Show. They'll be on tomorrow. And, I don't know. We may not have a show next week. We'll see. I'm going to be out. Halterman, will be man in the ship, but may not be one worth manning. So
yeah, I don't know. I was kind of looking ahead at the schedule, and usually I think we take like there's maybe like around Christmas we take it off. I don't know. I may take next week off because there's just not a lot to cover. We're definitely in between. Like I said, once we kind of get to that Thanksgiving weekend, it's pretty busy throughout the rest of the time. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. That'll be a game time decision by me. I may just do something just wild next week. Who knows?
You could join me at Disney World.
That will not be the wild thing I do. I can promise you that. Yeah.
Taking my crew, my kids to Disney World, guys. So say a prayer for me. A break is the opposite of what I'm getting.
Yeah.
There's no vague. It's like that episode of The Office, when Jim has the jury duty and he's out all week and he lied, they're pissed, and the kids come in and then They're like, yeah, that was no vacation.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, there was
yeah.
no vacation at Disney for me. It seems like a good idea until you start planning it, and then you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be, because like you got to have a doctorate to figure out and navigate Disney World. It's insane, like because not only just figuring out the parks, but then you're like, you have all these fast passes or whatever they're called, and you got to put your put in your times and when you need to be here and there, get there, and then all this shit, and then the books, and you gotta. There's all these secrets to know, and it's like I don't. This is not how I operate in life. It's
Yeah.
just,
Well, it's a theme park. You think you just hey, show up and have fun. Go ahead, kids. Go do whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's weird.
oh yeah, and that's the thing, Shotty. The wall has already been ripped, and I haven't even got there yet. That's the thing. Like, it's not like my kid. I know my kids well. It's not like we're gonna get there and be like, all right, I'm so happy that we're here. Let's just enjoy what we've done so far. Oh no.
No.
It'll be every other shop, every other gift shop or whatever, and that's the thing. My boys are just at such prime ages to enjoy these parks where it's like every little thing is gonna be like, oh, I need that, I need a Star Wars figure, I need Harry Potter toy, whatever, because we're going to Universal too. So which is the thing, looking back, I'm like, you know what we should have done? We should have just made it one or the other, either Disney or Universal. Trying to do both is just total stupidity.
How many days are you going to be there?
Well, it's 7, but it's
Okay.
6. So we get in Monday, we fly in Monday, nothing Monday, fly out Monday, but Tuesday through Sunday is something.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, you got enough time. So if you're just there 2 days, I don't think that would be really bad. You got enough time. I think you could do it.
Oh, we can do it. But then you also are like, yeah, these like you have it all planned out, and then you're like, these my kids aren't robots. So then it's like it seems like you got a plan on paper, but
right,
it'll be a shit show here
Yeah.
in between here and there, and what yeah, I mean, it'll be solid enough to where it's like, and we're staying on property, so it's like if you need to, like it's not life or death if you have to get there, and you just take the train or whatever to the
you're not
park.
driving around. Yeah,
exactly. So
that's good.
I mean, listen, we'll see. We'll see what like day 1 and 2 are Magic Kingdom, day 3 and 4 are Universal. I think once we get the weekend, it might be like, oh shit, like I'm getting kind of tired. Like the kids, meaning.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. They're I don't know though. I think they're going to have a lot of fun. I think you might not, but I think they will have a lot of fun there. So yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it does sound like a lot though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's happening. We're going to do it.
Yep.
We're going to put on a brave face and we're going to have fun. Damn it.
Yep.
The boys are pumped though. I'm excited. Like, the boys have flown, but they were both really little. So it's going to be a whole experience. And again,
they'll love
that. They don't, going through security and all those fun things that we all love to do. And they're like asking me all these questions and like, well, you'll find out. And we're flying Allegiant, which is great. So,
okay.
All right. Way to kill them on their first big flight, right?
I wouldn't say that.
But hey, listen, it was that or Connections, and it was like Allegiance Direct. I need to get there as easy as I can.
I understand. Yes, I understand. I would. When you live where we live, if you're going to go to a tourist area, you might as well take them.
Yeah. We went to Disneyland when Coop was like 1 almost, and Cohen was 3. So I mean, like Cohen remembers some of it, but not a lot of it. So and Cooper obviously doesn't remember any of it. So it was 2 days. Like we did California Adventure one day and Disneyland one day, which obviously Disneyland is fun, but it's much smaller than Disney World. So it was a little bit more doable. We actually, fun fact, went with John White and Tracy, so that was fun. So I don't have my tour guides. Tracy was a hell of a tour guide.
Yeah, she is an expert when it comes to that for sure. And they go all the time. Out in California, yeah. So that's Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're gonna have to venture this one on your own unless you can get John to fly into Orlando. He's retired, he might do it. Who knows? I think he's out in Vegas still. Actually, yeah, he's not going to Orlando. He'll stay out in Vegas if he needs
Yeah,
to.
no, I don't know if I could pull
Oh,
off that with him.
makes me think the Allegiant and then mentioning Vegas. I didn't tell you about this. Scariest thing that ever happened to me in my life happened the last time I flew. Okay.
Okay.
Totally forgot. I meant to tell the story. We were going in for the landing in Vegas, and they announced, we're cleared for landing. All the stuff. You heard the wheels come down. Did I say this?
I mean,
Dennis?
I haven't heard it. Maybe he said it on a different show.
Yeah, and I don't think so. Anyway, so we're going down, and all of a sudden, dude, it felt like we were very close to landing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the plane shot up in the air.
Oh shit! And this was flying into Vegas. You said
into Vegas, and
Okay.
I mean, he floored we were going fast, straight back up, and that plane was shaking. And I was sitting by a couple that I don't think was really had been flying a lot, and they looked at me and they were like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, I really don't know. I said, I've flown this a lot. I've done a lot of flying. I've never experienced what just happened. I said, I'm not trying to freak you out, but I really don't know what's going on. It was 10 minutes before they came over the intercom. We are circling Las Vegas. It was beautiful, to see the strip and everything.
Well, yeah. What
But
did they say?
Well, and we're in our minds are like, did the landing gear not work? What is going on? An Allegiant plane failed to clear the runway in time for us to land. So the pilot finally comes on, and you can tell he is furious.
What airline were you on?
We were on Frontier. Which is kind of like Allegiant, really. But the pilot comes on and he goes, an Allegiant plane failed to leave the runway. So we had to make an emergency kind of loop, basically. So he's like, good news is you're getting a free tour of Las Vegas, because we're just looping around Las Vegas. The problem was it's Las Vegas, flight after flight after flight. We had to wait to kind of get back in line. And then we landed and we were fine. The plane was fine. Everything was fine. But yeah, I've never been scared on a flight until that, because your mind just kind of starts thinking, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway.
Well, we've flown, we've flown so many times that it's just, I don't even think about, sometimes I'll be like, oh shit, we took off, if I'm tired or something, or we landed. So you're kind of just, it's like second nature for us, but that would be a little freaky, because I don't think I've ever had that happen.
No. And it was, I kind of read about it afterwards, and it does happen from time to time. But anyway, yeah. And I'd forgotten about it because, we were fine, but just talking about that made me think, oh shit, I forgot to tell you about that. So yeah, that was pretty wild, but, hopefully that doesn't happen to you guys. It'll be fine. You'll be the ones in the way because you're flying Allegiant, so it's fine.
That's true. We will be. But hey, watch out, guys. We're trying to get off the runway here. So
yeah.
It is what it is. I haven't flown Allegiant in a long time, but you get that one way to Vegas and Orlando and out of Springfield, especially. It makes it like, well, shit. Got to do it, right? I mean, whenever that year we went to Disneyland, we flew and we had a connection, I think, in Dallas or something, and and the kids were much littler, but man, that was brutal, because it was one of those where you were pushing it to get there, and you're like, you're one of those people running through, but this time you're carrying, car seats and your kids and your bat, all the shit, and you're just like, I want to, you just kill me, please,
Yeah, I always feel really sorry for people that have that specific situation with kids, because even if you're just by yourself or with your wife or whatever, it can be very stressful. And then you've got to, take care of, let's say, 2 kids and all their shit. And it's just, it would be a nightmare. You always fly direct if you can.
Yeah.
That would be my obvious advice for anybody listening. Like connections are just, especially nowadays, they can't get their shit right, the airlines. So,
But anybody is listening. If you listen to the live now or on the show, on the pod later, if you legitimately have, not like, hey, don't go, that's my advice. But if you actually have like advice, like, hey, if you go to Disney, make sure you try this, or at Universal, do this or whatever, let me know, because obviously first time going, we've got a tour, or not a tour guide, like a what do you call it? Like a vacation planner, or whatever, that's kind of helping set up the trip. So, have an idea, and it's all planned, so to speak. But any like must see things, or, things the kids would like, let me know, because I'm just trying to survive. And day drinking. I'm going to day drink too. That's going to happen. So there's zero. Well, my plan is, they have like, we're staying at resort. We have like a meal plan or something. And, you have like free refillable mugs, right, that you can go throughout all the parks and just go to all whatever. So I'm just gonna bring like a little flask or something, top that off a little bit, just day drink all day.
Yep, that's what I would do.
And
that's what Magic would do.
Just enough, where it's like, I'm not a gummy guy, so I'm like, especially with kids, like, no thanks. But that I'm like, I can keep it. I mean, I'm a professional, so I can keep a nice level. Just make sure the kids know which mug's mine.
Yeah, don't let them have any drinking out of yours.
Oh no, that's daddy's.
Yeah, no, not that one. Not that one, guys. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.